Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of window trim cutting and flame cutting. Pretty simple. We got all the flames finished cut out on the first video that we were doing. Everything turned out really decent on that. And now I'm going to show you is how to cut out the window lines. I know a lot of people have been asking. I finally got around a chance to showing you on cutting it out on the body. So what I typically do is I will outline all the windows in Sharpie marker. The Proline ones are really nice. Some of the J Concepts are nice too because there's actually a nice groove or channel in the body to where you can put your Sharpie in to get a true outline around the windows. So as a painter, I like that. It definitely gives you some nice lines to go by. So what I always typically do is I'll start on one side of the body first, then I'll kind of work to the windshield and I'll cut the other side out. What I use is a number 16 blade. I typically use on most of my bodies that I cut. And what I'm going to show you is on the design, you got a couple different options. You can use a standard design that comes with a body. A lot of the corners have the radiuses on them. Small little curves on the front also. All depends on how you want it to look. Lately, I've kind of been on this square look to everything to where I don't really radius the edges much. I kind of like doing really square and kind of a thinner line, but you can do it however you want. I know a lot of times in the past I've put different designs inside the window and you can cut them out. I've had some windows that have been cut out with like a flame border around the outside of them. You can do them with spikes or chop them off or cut them. It gives the body a lot of different character too. So if you can kind of want that unique look to your body, you can actually take the design and have it be part of configurator of your scheme as well. So I'll show you what we typically do when I'm cutting them. I'll hold the body upside down, obviously, and like I mentioned in the prior videos, is don't hesitate to flex these bodies. They're very durable. They're going to take a bigger beating on the track. Flex them on out so you can get into them to get to the angle that you want. Typically, being a right-handed person, the driver's side is always going to be the easiest side to cut because the windows are more forward on it. You can get a better visual and you can get your hand inside of the body to cut it better on the driver's side. The window's not too tricky. I'll show you how to do that. Where you get tricky is on the passenger side because the windows move further back. It's kind of harder to draw your blade back. You kind of get tight fitted in here and it's kind of hard to make those exact cuts. So I'll kind of show you how I do that. What I will do is when we cut this one, I'll kind of do some of the edge lines radiused. You use the same method on all the cars, whether it be an on-road car, an off-road car, buggy, whatever you're using. So some of the people have difficult time with the radiuses. I'll kind of show you how I do that. It's the same method that I use with doing the flames. You just want to make sure that if you can't make that turn, you leave that cut off to where you can see where you're at in a place where you can go back and hit into that cut groove pretty easily. So the driver's side, I'll go ahead and show you what I mentioned. It's relatively easy. You can take your 16 blade or 11 or whatever you use, and we'll make these windows kind of radius. So each corner is going to have a slight twist to them. They're not going to be perfectly square. A lot of the ones I've been doing lately have just been on the square kick with them, but we'll do these radius. So when you're starting, I don't start here and go straight back. I'm going to start out with a little radius first, about 1/8 of an inch, and then I'm going to curve back, and we'll do the bottom portion. Like I mentioned in the earlier video, you don't want to stop your cut, or start your cut rather, in the middle of a radius. You'll want to start before the radius and go through it. That way when you go back to hit in that line, you're coming off of a straight line instead of trying to hit that middle of that radius. You'll never hit it up. It's too difficult to do. So I'll kind of show you and I'll cut it and then I'll erase it. So if the camera doesn't pick it up that good, you'll be able to see when I do it. So I start before the curve, draw it back, and then straighten my blade right straight back. Nice straight line. I don't stop. I keep right on going. Small little radius around that turn. And like I mentioned, you don't stop before the radius or in the middle of it. You go through it. So here I'm going to curve right on around, right through the radius. Okay. I'll do the same thing on the back window. The back window, I'm going to leave it a straight area right in the front. We'll rotate through it and down, rotate through it and down. Now I'll erase that, and what it'll show you is, even though I stopped the blade right in the middle of the cut, you're going to kind of see how easy it is to put your knife right back into that cut. Here you go. I'll kind of see if we can point it up to me and show you. So what we've done is we've kind of started back here. You see how we got a nice radius around that edge? We came up, and where I started before we went around that curve. So we're going to start here, then come back down and around. Now when I come back, I'm going to pick off where I left off and see how much easier it is to start off in that straight area and come down. So we're going to make that all one radius as well. Whenever you get in a tight area like this where you can't exactly make that curve, stop before it or after it. Don't stop in the middle of the curve. This here you can see I'm off just a little bit as well. I'll go back and clean that up and show you how we can do that also. What I'll do now is I'm going to start where we left off. So I'm going to go back to the very first part. This is kind of a tricky way to cut. You're going to have to learn how to do it. It's almost a backhand cut. So where you're not going to be able to cut everything right directly square at you. You're going to need to come backhand with it and drag it. Once again, you're kind of looking at the back and the front side of this blade and keeping it parallel with your line. Okay. So you're going to put it right back in the cut that you came out of, and you're going to draw it straight back. Once you get to the end, you're going to make the little radius curve and come down, and you're going to go after it and make the little radius curve. So there's where we're at. We'll wipe the rest of this off, and I'll kind of show you where we're at with it. Pull up here to where we can show you. So now you can see what we've done is we've came right down that whole line. We've made the little radius cut there, and we made the little radius cut here at the bottom. So all we have to do now is draw that line straight back. That kind of gives you a little bit of a better view right there. You can see how nice that those turns make. Almost looks like you never even lifted. So now when we come back, we're going to pick up on the straight area, which is going to be a lot easier to catch and pull way back. So by the time we're done, when you look at this, it's going to look like you never even stopped. And we'll do the same thing with the back here. You can see how I slightly went up here. We'll fix that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start here, and I'm going to draw it all the way back. We're going to catch into where we left off up top here. I kind of did this one out of order. This is the previous body that I did in the flame design. Typically, I don't pull this off until the window mask is cut as well. I kind of pull it off so we could see it in the video. I'll come back and clean this up here. So what we'll do is now we've got that straight line. We're going to come back and we're going to grab it, and we're going to pull it right straight on down. And once you get to the end, we've already made that other radius. When we came back through and rotated it, we just fell right into that spot. So you're going to see, I'll erase this here, and it'll kind of show you exactly how it's going to be. Here you can take a look at it as it goes all the way around. Kind of see we got the nice straight line along the bottom, and then all our edges look like we're radiused. I'll do the back window, then I'll clean this top part up and show you here. There's the back window that's done. I'll clean this top part up a little bit. And the nice thing is when we're cleaning this up, it's going to be in the area that's going to get painted. So you're not even going to see it. You can see how I went back through and redid the second cut there. to kind of square it up and straighten it. And you can see the radius is all around the windows. A lot of it's trial and error. You're going to get better with it as you go. What I typically like to do too is when you have a body that has a recess in it where the window trim's at, I always try to cut on one side or the other. What happens if you try to cut right on the middle of that, sometimes as you're drawing your blade back, it's going to want to wander on you. So we can do that. See this area here too? We'll clean that up also. There you go, you can see. Cleaned it on up. Some of it's due to I kind of did a lot of this out of the order what I typically do. Most of the time I don't even pull anything off until all the cuts are made. I just stopped the video so we could do the window trim video off the same body. So once you get the first outline done, this is where you want to come back and you'll need to freehand the second cut. So what we'll do is take your blade again, and you have to kind of determine how thick you want the window trim. I usually leave mine right around 1/8 inch. Sometimes I'll go a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch. Just depends on what your preference is and how you want it to look. So what we'll do is we'll do the same type of radius cuts on all of the second part of the cut. So we won't stop in the middle of the radius. We're going to continue that right on through. And I'll show you what that's going to look like. Stop in the front of it. And what we're going to do is, since I corrected that one line, that's what I want to make my cut based off of. One radius there. Put a smaller, tight radius at the bottom. Do the same thing for the back window. This will kind of show you what it looks like. Here's a secondary cut that we went right along parallel to it. Remember the top line is where I made the error. We're going to correct it and we're going to make the bottom line run right parallel to it. We radiused around this corner and down, and I made a little slight tighter radius at the bottom. Same thing with the top window. I started here, made the radius, came down, made a little radius here. So now when I start, I've already gone past that curve. So I'll finish this window and it'll kind of show you what it's going to look like. We're going to carry the front part and drag it, that second line, all the way down. Once you get to the end, you're going to make the small radius. Rotate the body kind of. Come down and make your other radius. We're already past it, so now it's easy to get that blade right back in the same spot. And you're going to have to eyeball it, and we're going to go right alongside and make a parallel cut right to it. Just like that. Let me do the back window since I'm right here as well. There we go. Give you a good visual what it looks like. The back window, you can see we kind of went right along parallel with it. So you got it. The hard part is trying to keep the same distance around the trim on all the windows. Try to do it in the front and the back and get it as close as you can. I'm going to pull all of this off, and we'll do it the same color as the flame outline, but it'll give you a better visual of what it looks like when it's cut and peeled off. There you go. Take a look at it. And there's what the window trim looks like. Kind of gives you a lot better idea of what it looks like. So just like cutting the radiuses on all the flames, don't stop with your radius. Don't lift your knife in the middle of those radius cuts. Carry it on through and pick the rest of your lines up on the straight lines. The back, you can kind of eyeball it how you want. Some of them, like the top parts here, they go to more of a point instead of a radius. I'll do the opposite side now. We'll pull that off. Now here's the tricky part that I'll tell you about, where I was talking about how we have to do the drag cut. I kind of did it a couple spots on the other body, on the other side of the body. We'll start our line just before, and we'll carry it all the way through that radius, all the way down through the bottom. Radius, make the turn, make that turn. Now what we'll do is we'll go back to the back side and the same type of deal. We're going to start our cut before the radius and make both of those radius turns at the same time. Make the radius. Just like that. Now, where it gets tricky is because it's the opposite side of the body. We're going to need to do some backhand cuts to make them join in. And it's hard to keep a straight line, dragging the line towards you. Sometimes it's harder to draw the line when you're having to drag your blade to make that radius. Takes a little practice, takes a little steady hand. It's awkward because you're cutting it totally different than what you're used to. So what we'll do is we'll hold the body like this. I can see right where my cut was at. I'm going to drop right back into the cut where I left off, and I'm going to drag right back to the back side of it. And you have to learn to lock your fingers, your hand, and your wrist and everything, so when you drag it, you're not getting any wandering or waving to it at all. It's kind of tricky. Try practicing it, because there's other sides of the body that get even tighter on some other bodies than this side. So you're going to want to use that same method, except to drag cut it instead of pull it this way. What would happen typically is sometimes you can pull it off. You got to pull this body way back out of the way to get in here. But what happens is you get really tight. You can't move it back in there to keep it straight. When you do a backhand and you go to cut it, you can drag it the whole way and not even have any issues. So that's why a lot of times you're going to get a straight cut, because you're not going to be bumping into the body. So I'll drag the cut from the front to the back here. And a lot of the times the name of the game is don't breathe. A lot of times if you breathe like that, or if you do breathe, do shallow breathing, because you'll let those lines kind of wander on you a little bit. Yep, a little part right here. The thing is nice and keep in mind too is when you're cutting it, even I don't care how long you've been, painting and cutting and designing and stuff, you're always gonna make mistakes. Where you get good is where you can fix the mistakes and you'll never even notice. For example, like there, I just had a little part that because I didn't cut it all in the order that I typically do, I had a little piece that was left over. It's good to catch it now while you're doing it, instead of when you get down on the spray booth and you're trying to spray it and then all of a sudden you catch it then. You can fix a lot of those errors and stuff before you even get completed with the whole body. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back. I'll show you the cut. A lot of those draw cuts where you're backhanding it turn out pretty good, nice and square. I'll cut the second line to those to make them parallel. Like I said, a lot of it's mostly just practice and patience doing it. What I'll do now is I'll kind of, I'm able to get it back in the cut where I left off. So sometimes it's easier to do it where you go through the radius, kind of like what we were doing, but kind of backwards on the other side. Nice thing is just kind of like let that blade twist and do its thing right in your hand. I'll pull straight down. And then I'll come back and I'll roll it through the radius. I'll pick off, I'll finish the tops off. And I love the blade. I always talk a lot about using the 16 blade. But I feel like I can get it to where it'll stay and it'll follow that clean line pretty much wherever you want it to. So we'll pull these off now. But once again, it's something that I've been used to using for quite a few years. So for some, it's not as easy or not easy to change and try. So kind of show you what this looks like now. Kind of see almost identical radius and wrap as the other side. So we got both sides done. I'll show you how I do the front now. It's kind of a little, not a trick, but a way that we'll finish those radiuses off so it doesn't show like we do on the side. So what I typically do is when I do the front window, what I like to do is I'll start inside the radius here, make the tight turn all the way down, and I'll make the bottom radius as well. So I'm starting from before the turn, all down the side, and finishing after the turn. I do that on both sides, and the reason being is after that, it's just 2 straight cuts, boom, boom, down each side. You know, if you're trying to, once again, like we always talked about, starting in the middle of that radius, it's kind of hard when you're coming back to hit that right in the middle of the turn. So like I said, we're gonna start before the radius all the way around through the turn and finish the back side off. So I'll go ahead and do that cut now, and I'll erase it and show you what it looks like. We'll do the other side. And then what's nice is you can just let this stubby handle and the blade just rotate right in your hand. It turns out so nice. So I'll erase the sides for you. And what it does is going to give you a visual of right where you left off. So when you go to finish the other side and complete it, you'll know exactly where you're going. Let's see if we can see it now. So you can see how I've started before the turn and came up all the way through. It's the same thing at the top. I'm not sure if you can pick it up. Maybe you can get it there. We'll see this side here if you can see it. See where we made the radius there and the bottom? So now when we go to cut, we're just going to have 2 straight lines, and you're going to have a nice little radius on each side already. Let me finish those cuts. What I do is when I'm doing these sideways cuts, I'll use the longer handle, because when you go back further on the handle, it's a lot easier for that line to stay drawn tight also when you're just doing a straight line like that. So we'll come back and I'll put the tip of the blade right where I left off, and I will drag it right directly down to meet the other cut line. Just like that. Rotate around, we'll do the same thing here, right back in the line. Just like that. Let me erase those lines and we'll show you what we got. Once again, the same practice, just don't stop or start any of your lines in the middle of a radius. Do it either before or after. Don't hesitate to rotate that body also. And also move your hand with it if you need to, however you need to spin it like a pizza or whatever you need to do. So there we'll show you what it looks like. So you've got the whole nice, pretty straight lines all the way around it, nice little radiuses. Once you get paint on there, you're not going to see any cut lines at all, so it's going to look like it's just one perfect cut. So we're going to go back and we're going to freehand that second cut line now. I use a short handle on the sides. You got to kind of eyeball the thickness of the other ones and rotate it to where you get it right about the same thickness on the sides. Once again, just freehanding it. A lot of it's eyeballing it and just patience and practice and time doing it. Let me show you what that looks like now. See how it went right along parallel next to it. Rotate it through the radius. There, and even on the bottom. Now our last two cuts are going to be the straight cuts across the side. Switch back to the bigger handle. And this is just patience and time doing it. You're just eyeballing it. But lock your wrist and keep it straight. Join in the other cut. Now we'll pull it off. And there you go. That's what the front window looks like. So pretty simple. Hopefully that will help you out. The biggest thing on anything with a radius, don't start your cuts or stop your cuts in the middle of radius. You got plenty of time to fix things. Even if it doesn't look exactly straight or square or how you want it, you can tell how we had what was off on the window on the side. You can go back and clean all that up. Once you get paint over it, a lot of that stuff you're not even going to see. So take your time with it. It's not easy to do, but once you learn a method and how to make your cuts, try to practice that backhand, that drag cut. It's really tricky when you're having to do that second line to match it. So some people will actually take and draw the second lines out. If that helps you right off the bat to get going, or you need that second line on there for a guide, go ahead and do it. I know a lot of times people will take some regular tape like this and they'll outline the window so you can put the tape over it like that. And when you're looking through it, it's kind of the same thing, but you have to cut on each side of the tape line. You know, you can use that for a reference wall if that will help you to get the thickness the same all the way around it, and then also keep that line straight. So whatever you need to do to help you out, draw the line, use a tape like that for the reference, or whatever you need to do to make it work. So hopefully that will help you out and answer the questions on it. Once again, it's just a lot of, you know, freehand and practice and doing it time and time again to get those lines straight. The cutting and the radius is the biggest thing that's going to help you from there. So if you have any other questions on it, please let me know, whether it be the flame job, cutting the flames out, or the window trim. Let me know and I'll help you out. Until then, we'll get some more videos going for you. And remember to like my Facebook page and subscribe for the YouTube. Keep those comments and questions coming my way, and I definitely appreciate it. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.